Good evening, everyone. So,
Good evening.
the first thing I want to explain is we chose the theme of possibility this evening. And possibility flows through everything that Symphonia does. Now, I've been aware of Symphonia since about 2008, when Symphonia brought Ben and Rosamund Zander out to do the Art of Possibility tour. And that thinking profoundly affected how I acted as a leader in, at that time, Old Mutual. And I used the book, The Art of Possibility, with my team in Old Mutual. Every 6 weeks, we would choose a different section of the book and look at how do we apply that as project managers, as change leaders, as people within a corporate organization. So when it came to looking at possibility this evening, the thing we chose is give the A. Okay, so one of the concepts in the book is the idea that instead of expecting people to build or build trust with you, or expect them to prove what they can do, you just do away with all of that. You give everybody the A up front. You give them the A up front, and then you expect them to live into it. So we've chosen to give everybody the A this evening, so our little group of people are all sitting with A's on them as a reminder that you can choose to give somebody the A and then expect them to live into that possibility, which is great. I'm going to start off here. I'm thinking about Jammer now because Jammer was there. Dominic and I think, was a fated meeting because Louise has been trying to get me involved in Symphonia for a long time and in a partnership whilst I was working in an organization who could fund me. But what happened was about August last year, I exited a shop in Pinelands and there were these flurries of very, very small people waving Xhosa forms at rather distressed passers-by. And these people looked extremely young to be completely unattended, and it freaked me out because they were not getting the response that they wanted from the people they were approaching. So I went over and I engaged them and I took a picture of the form and I said, right, if this is legit, I'll donate, but I'm going to talk to your principal first to find out what this is about. Ta-da! So I phoned Dominic and we had a nice chat and I made a donation to the grade 7's end of year fund, and then Louise, I got the normal email because I'm on the list, and I went, oh, ping, there's somebody who should be doing partners. There's a gentleman in Langa. What? And Louise went, yeah, but Liz. I said, I'm not in a corporate anymore. She said, no, the Mapula Trust. So Mapula Trust, thank you very much for funding our year. It's deeply appreciated. And that's how Dominic and I got started. So the things I have learned. Okay, I'm going to tell you one thing Dominic has learned that I know is not on his slides. I leak. I leak a lot. Okay, in every workshop I leak. Because there's always a moment when somebody says something that undoes you. And I leak. So Dominic, bless his heart, carries tissues. I don't. Okay. What did I do? What did I learn? I crossed more than just Jan Smuts Drive. I live in Pinelands. It's an affluent suburb. We have everything that opens and shuts. We are incredibly blessed. I'm conscious. I have been conscious for many years. That's a happy place to be, and there's something else out there. But I have to admit that the other side of life was kind of intimidating. And I, in this process, have traveled the distance of about 3 kilometers at least every 2 weeks. And I've crossed Jan Smuts Drive, but I entered a different universe. Because literally 3 kilometers as the crow flies from where I live is a school where there are about 600 pupils for whom many, the meal they get at school is the only meal they get in the day. And that's not okay. It's actually flat out not okay. And the fact that 25 years after the end of apartheid we're still sitting in that situation is completely appalling. And I think one of the things that this whole process has done is it made me a lot more vocal and a lot more able to step into those conversations and challenge people's perceptions and challenge people's ideas. It's made me a friend from a completely different background, and we have a rapport that goes very deep. Dominic and I are simpatica. We have a commonality, and that trust happened very quickly, which is something incredibly special. See, I'm going to leak. I learned lessons in humility, witnessing the dedication of not just Dominic, but all of the principals in our circle, people who've dedicated lifetimes to working in the most unbelievably challenging circumstances, to educate people against the odds. It is incredibly humbling to see what people deal with day in, day out, and continue to fight and push that boulder up the hill. It's just extraordinary. I've always been an optimist, but I've learned even more about the gifts that are present in a room. I mean, things that were hugely entertaining, you know. Somebody's put up there on that board that they play snooker. It's a gentleman's game that teaches you discipline and values. Go you! If you get out of the snooker, that's fantastic. Share it with the world. I mean, there's so much in people that we just overlook and neglect because we're so busy focusing on the bad. Finding time to connect was incredibly challenging. Not only do I have a difficult life and a difficult job, but Dominic's world of school and the admin associated with running a school and the sort of moments of chaos that pop up because you're dealing with people all the time and you're dealing with people in trauma a lot of the time was just fascinating. And I got a much, much, much better understanding of the phrase, don't sweat the small stuff. Because, boy, compared with this life, everything in my life is the small stuff. And I had to learn, like all the other partners, to rein in my red. So there was an episode of arson at the school in February, and one of the foundation phase classrooms has got a smashed window and had a fire. And we are sitting in November, and hallelujah, we're celebrating the victory that it's now getting onto the list of things that the department is going to fix. I mean, my instinct is fundraise, get out there, get a tribe in, fix it. But actually it needs to reside, the responsibility needs to reside with the right people. And you can't do that. You actually can't do that. So to my icon of patience, that is Dominic, and to quote Dory, I've learned how to just keep swimming.
Okay, good evening everyone. Good evening. Of course I'm coming from Mokone Primary. It's a school in Langa, where the majority of our learners, their parents are paying grants. And the school is situated right at the end of Langa. We are just next to Pinelands. It was an honor for me to take part to this program, a program of development. It has, in fact, impacted me positively in doing and approaching things. Also, it was a privilege to meet a range of people with different ideas and different inputs, passion and everything. So I'll also extend my gratitude to Mapula Trust for really funding us to be the part of this great universal program. I got an insight into the business world through Liz. We've heard the experience that she has in terms of the business management. And coming from the school context, it's a different world. And also having a partner like her, you would imagine that you really have a strong character. And so I needed to learn how to approach the school day-to-day situations in line with the business. I got connected with a whole lot of principals who are out here, and we network, and I have an opportunity to learn on how to do things. Through this cycle, it gave me the opportunity to experience Ubuntu. The group that we are, we really meet the standards of South Africa, Ubuntu. In this workshop, in the workshops we had, and out through the life of our circles, wherever we meet, Ubuntu was always the highlight. I became aware of the need to listen with quality, to listen, to avoid chipping or disturbing the next person. Listening, not to give an answer. So this is a human skill that I really acquire in the process. I started this journey last year in October. I think we were down in Mitchell's Plain. Yeah, that's where I met great leaders, Paul and Selwan. So you guys, you inspired me from the first day. And so our first movement was to start with the SMT, and the SMT is the school management team, where we started to use the contracting and time to think learning, which I used at work and in my life in general. I understand my colleagues better than before, and I had the opportunity, particularly the school management team, to understand their background, where they come from, and why they will react in a certain situations, and also understands them in the pressures of the environment in which we work. Well, in a process, we struggled to meet the timelines between the real values of the PFP work with my partner, Liz, and the constant daily demands of my employer and my work, where we have to change things that we have already planned to do, and we end up not doing it. So that was part of learning. But within that context, I've learned to see the bigger picture, that really, in view of everything, there are possibilities out there to improve relationships, the operations of the SMT, and my own management style to enhance Mokone learner achievement, and in the extras of their curriculum that helps to enrich everyone in that school so that they have a self-esteem to carry on and to know that life is about experiences.
Okay. Should I carry on?
Yes.
Okay. So Dominic and I have also taken quite a lot of time to get to know each other and get going with things. We had the engagement with the SMT, which I think Fansel will say was interesting and different and fun, and has certainly changed the way, for instance, meetings are run and time management aspects to SMT meetings. The things that we still intend to do, because we have contracted, we're carrying on till June next year, at least, and really only stopping then because I'm leaving the country, sadly. But before June next year, we hope to really embed in the SMT that sense of we manage our phases as if we're managing our own school. We want to get a session going with the educators themselves so that we build teachers who are teachers for life, not just teachers for learning. Out of that, we're looking at starting an extramural program, which we want to try and get at least one of those things going for January next year, because one of the stories Dominic told me himself was the powerful impact of being a Boy Scout in his life, and giving him the idea of motivation, the ability to find an inner core that would, transcend his circumstances. So the idea that you can build self-esteem by, for instance, currently working in the vegetable garden If you're disruptive in class, you can go outside and you can work in the veggie garden and you can do weeding and you can be productive and you can get a sense of, I've done something of value. I have value. So we're looking at one cultural activity, one thinking activity, and one sport as a basic. We are already busy setting up for the Salesians to come in and run a parental, the Life Affairs program, which tackles unemployed parents, teaches them parenting skills, and it helps them position themselves to actually get employed. So we're running that in the first term of next year for the foundation phase parents, because we think if we can get the foundation phase parents, then we start them off on a schooling journey for life that will be better started. And then finally, there is a plan underway for Mokone to change its language of education, language of instruction from Xhosa to English. And we're going to take the year to kind of say, well, what all needs to change? What needs to be, what ducks do we need to get in a row before that can actually happen? So those are the things we're focusing on. And then we literally just chucked up, that's the SMT. We had a fun day with them, and then this is not stuff we achieved, but it's stuff that we're aiming for. So those are Mokone kids who are out there achieving against all odds. We want to make more of that happen. And that's us.